All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Peter.
Well, I'm awake now. You woke me up.
Peter, you old bastard you. We're ending 2020, going into 2021. When you were a kid, did you think you would live to 2021?
Who would think that? Who would think that?
I was thinking the other day, it's possible I could live to 2050. Whoa.
Yeah. Oh.
Hey, remember when we were kids? We had these imaginations provoked by the Jetsons.
Yeah. Dick Tracy and
yeah. Here we are, episode number 234. Today's episode name is 12 Ways for Rookies to Convince Sellers to Do Creative Real Estate Deals Easily.
Good.
What do you think, Peter?
It's like the 12 Days of Christmas, only for real estate. Come on, was that your inspiration?
No, not at all. Well, Desiree says, Happy New Year's. That's right, because today is New Year's. It's New Year's.
It's New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. Doesn't even feel like it.
I know. And tomorrow will be 2021, and the entire world will go back to everything wonderful.
Oh, yes. That's what they're promoting anyways.
Hey, the year 2000, everything was supposed to go to crap. You know, all the computers would break. So let's go the other way. Everything's going to go fine in 2021.
All right. Episode 234, 12 Ways for Rookies to Convince Sellers to Do Creative Deals Easily. No lie. Being exceptionally good at talking to sellers about pretty house creative deal structuring can make a world of difference with your success. But what do you do until you become exceptionally good?
Exceptionally. How about this, Bill? Exceptionally suck for a while. How about that? But just go ahead anyways.
Do you use the latest manipulative tricks taught by so many out there and hope you figure it out as you see deal after deal pass by making these learning curve mistakes? Or do you take the shortcuts and natural process that we will reveal in this podcast? Real estate is one of the oldest industries on planet Earth. Others before us have made their millions or billions. So it would make sense we do not need to reinvent the wheel, but instead we should perhaps study what was successful through those centuries. To know how to help sellers make decisions using harmony and not manipulation or tricks so you get deals done. Listen to this podcast to get an enormous advantage over 98% of all other investors out there. If, and only if, of course, you apply it.
There's always a catch. There's always a catch. You have to do it. Oh, man.
If you don't want to spend years learning how to deal with pretty house sellers while using creative deal structuring and a chokehold strategy, then this podcast will be right up your alley. Do that again.
Yeah, go do that again.
If you don't want to spend years learning how to deal with pretty house sellers while using creative deal structuring and chokehold strategies, then this podcast will be right up your alley. But before I get started, I got to do all my housework stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, in your description of wherever you're watching this podcast or listening to us, there is a link right in the description that will send you to our free stuff page where there's over 25 checklist documents, videos, all kinds of stuff that you can use, especially if you're a rookie. More important, if you're not a rookie, you can go there and get some shortcuts you may not have seen before. Also, every Thursday morning, including New Year's Eve morning, and Christmas Eve morning, which we've done this year, we record this podcast and live stream it onto Facebook and on YouTube. So if you want to go Thursday mornings, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch us and interact with us, because if you are on Facebook and you are on YouTube, you can ask questions in the chat. I can see them on my screen. You'll hear us during the podcast speaking to people. That's the reason why, is because they're in the chat talking to us, and we talk back to them. Also, if you need any help or there's any confusion with any one of these podcasts or anything that I say or Peter says, I can't take full responsibility for Peter, because Peter says some kooky stuff.
Hey there. That's my job.
I'm just joking. Anyways, just send us a support ticket at flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right-hand side says support. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel wherever you're listening to us, and or like us or send us a review in that platform. Okay? And most important, being at the end of year 2020, we got to say this, Peter. Thanks for all the support. We have almost 1,300,000 downloads. That's a lot of support.
Jeez.
So
Yipes.
I want to say thank you. I mean, it's not quite there, but it's getting close.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy.
It's awesome.
234 podcasts. Ooh.
234 podcasts. If you don't want to spend years learning how to deal with pretty house sellers while using creative deal structuring and chokehold strategies, then this podcast will be right up your alley. When you do what I'm about to show you, you won't have to worry about rejection either, Peter.
Wow. Oh, but I don't take that very well.
Yeah, right. You take my rejection all the time and busting your chops.
That's why you have two ears. One in, one out.
That's the trick, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It will be a natural flow that is comfortable, conversational, and relaxing while working with your seller to see if the deal works for you and them. That's how it should be. If it's not, I'm sorry to say, you're probably not doing it correctly. And when you hit that exact point, Peter, that exact specific point, nothing, absolutely nothing that we can teach you will help. Nothing. You will instinctively know it's right and have an inner force pushing you to do that deal. All you need to do is get through all the noise and the chatter, mostly in your own head, or are those around you that are not believers. You need to get through that noise and chatter and just talk to enough people and do some of the things that we're going to show you. I'm going to show you 12 things that you can do that are not really real estate tricks. They're just normal people skills that anybody could do if you just listen and see how we do it. Right? Man, I have to sneeze.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
Oh, yeah. I've been holding that back for 10 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Gesundheit.
Right. Thank you. All right, so let's get right to it, Pete. I'm not going to do any fluff and talk about it because we have a lot to cover. So number one, take the high ground. Take the high ground. When you take the high ground, that means an advantage from an ethical point or morally correct, especially in times of disagreement or tension. And what makes this work is when you consider the other's disagreement and or tension without making the other person wrong or invalidating them or evaluating for them so that you get their full thoughts or ideas. Trick is to help the seller change their position on how they are looking at this point in the discussion. So maybe just maybe they can shift their viewpoint of how the disagreement or tension just enough to re-reason with the information you are now trying to convey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to read that again. To me, I'm not saying it because I wrote it, but them seem like philosophical words to me.
Yeah, but you either have that viewpoint or you need to find that viewpoint. I mean, how do you treat people? Somebody says something, why fight them on it?
Right.
Why don't you just well, I understand it. Don't disagree with it. I've had people tell me things and I could say, no, that's wrong. I'd rather say no, I see your viewpoint, but did you know that nowadays this can happen? Or did you know that there's also this other thing? You might not have known about that. Just let them look at it. Why fight them? You push, they're going to push back. Why push?
So a point of view, or as we call it, a viewpoint, is something we should talk about just for a second here.
Sure.
So if we were to sit at you watch on TV, right? These crime shows, and they bring the criminal into the little room, the padded little room, and there's a table in the middle, and the criminal's on one side, and the detective's on the other side, and they start the interrogation. Right?
Yep.
So picture you and me in that room.
Yep.
And the white table.
Which side are you on?
I'm the criminal.
You're the criminal. Okay, good. I'm the good guy.
So we're at this table in this padded dark room with the light hanging over it, and there's a bottle of water on the table.
Mm-hmm.
You see one side of that bottle of water, and I see the other.
Mm-hmm.
Same bottle of water, but the way that we're looking at it is from a different angle.
Right, and there's a label on it. There's a label on it, right?
I might see the nutritional facts, and you might see the logo of the company that that made the bottle of water.
Yeah.
Different viewpoints. Same bottle of water.
Mm-hmm.
You see one thing, I see another. And because of that, you could formulate fixed ideas, or you could generate your own concerns. You could develop theories and ideas based on what you're saying.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Same with me. I see the nutritional facts. And I have data that you don't have because you didn't see it.
Right.
So what I'm saying here is that sometimes you have to have, well, let me read this again and then we'll come back to this. Okay. So Take the high road. When you take the high road, that means an advantage from an ethical point or morally correct, especially in times of disagreement or tension. And what makes this work is when you consider the other's disagreement and or tension without making the other person wrong or invalidate them or evaluate for them their thoughts or ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Trick is to help the seller change their position in how they are looking at the points in the discussion. So maybe, just maybe, they can shift the way they're looking at it, or shift their view of the disagreement or tension enough to re-reason with the information you're trying to convey. So let's give a live example of this. Sure. I'm talking to a seller, and I'm talking to them about taking monthly payments until I can pay them off.
Right.
Almost every seller says, well, what if the tenant does damage?
Mm-hmm.
Or what if they don't pay?
Sure.
So that is a disagreement and or
well, it's at least a concern.
Tension. It's tension.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're worried about that point in the deal.
Right. Because they can make a problem for them. Right. And they're trying to get out of a problem. They They're trying to get out of a problem with the least problems to get out of the problem. And this looks like another possible problem.
It's an obstacle in their mind.
Yeah.
It's a mental obstacle.
What if?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm going to do is say, well, here's the deal. I'm going to take a master lease, and no matter what, I've got X number of properties, or I've got experience, or I've got whatever, and I'm going to pay the bill. Well, they don't know me from Adam, and I could lie to them. So that doesn't really work. That's what most investors will say. I'll pay the bill. Well, how do they know you're going to pay? You're no different than the seller in their head.
And they don't ask that question, do they?
No.
Oh, what if you don't pay? Because that doesn't go anywhere. Like, well, I will. No, you won't. But
the investor thinks they've answered the seller when they really haven't. They haven't handled it.
Right.
Okay.
So what should you do?
So my answer is something like, well, what happens is they're not considered renters. They're actually homeowners. And we're giving them an intermediate loan, which means they're going to put down a substantial amount of the deposit, usually 3 to 5%. And we're going to hold some of that deposit in escrow. So if they don't pay, or if there is damage, we're going to have reserves in the deal.
That paints a better picture.
Now that just shifted the viewpoint of the seller, and they're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Now, what that really is that's the seller getting up from the table in the interrogation room and walking around to the other side of the table and looking at the other side of the bottle of water. Okay?
Yep.
At the end of the day, Peter, if you plan on going anywhere in this industry, and I don't care who you are, if you plan on going anywhere, Happy New Year, John. If you plan on going anywhere, you have to definitely be the most ethical person in the room. Can't do it any other way.
Yeah, it's almost surprising. I think it would be surprising to most people, but not to me, because I just don't think like that. That all the books that I read, they always say to do that. They always say, be the good guy, give to charity, don't screw people. Money's not the most important thing. Help them. And then things will work out for everybody, in every book, every person, these rich people, but the real good guys. And I've known some fairly wealthy people, some family connections, business connections, and pretty much every one of them is a really decent person. They're not this scummy, suck you dry kind of person. They're not.
So I want to announce something to you, Peter, just along exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I actually have an upset with Mr. Ben Settle.
Do you now?
I do.
Does he know?
No.
Is he listening?
I'm mad. I don't know. I'm mad that he actually thought of this. It's not really anything to do with him. It's really, I'm mad
you're
that
jealous.
I did.
You're jealous. You're jealous.
I'm jealous.
What did he do?
He said the other day in one of the books I'm reading, because I bought a book on affiliate marketing from him, right? Because I was curious. He says, and this is actually in his persuasion book, which I should probably announce because that is a great book.
Is that a newer one? You've had that for a while.
No, I've had it for a while.
Yeah, I think I've heard you talk about that.
It is Persuasion Secrets of the World's Most Charismatic and Influential Villains. It's a little book. It's a little book. It's,
wow.
It's something you could read like in an afternoon, right? But it is amazing. Persuasion Secrets. I put it in front of me so you can see. Persuasion Secrets of the World's Most Charismatic and Influential Villains. Anyways, this is not on my notes, so I want to keep moving. Which, by the way, thank you for bringing this up, because I've been looking for this other book and I couldn't find it, and I just found it.
Oh.
Here's the deal. He said, the villains are proactive and the heroes are reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So think about that. How many villains are there compared to the good guys?
You want my number?
It's like 2 or 3%.
It's actually very small. We know some very good research. It's actually very small. But why does it look like it's everywhere?
There you go.
Huh?
Yeah,
It looks like we're outnumbered.
I mean, look at the Joker in Batman. He wants to rule the world, right? Pick
Yeah.
any one of the Penguin, any one of those. I mean, that's my error, so that's what I talk about, right?
Mm.
The villain is the one creating and causing all the trouble, and the hero is chasing the villain.
Mm. Yeah, in response to the trouble.
Right.
So he's reacting to it.
Right.
Yep.
Think about it. People are basically good.
Mm-hmm.
So being the only ethical person in the room is a huge advantage. All right, we're going to get off this moral train. this religion talk.
Hey, it's a good way to start the year, huh?
Number 2, Peter. Number 2. Do more deals with less effort.
Meaning?
If you put too much neediness on a deal, or put in your mind, you must have it, the deal will run away.
Mm.
Much like the faster you chase sellers, the faster they run. When you think you must do a deal, that tension leaks out of you and into the seller's surroundings and makes them hesitant. Don't do it. Get your poker face on. And just wear it. I don't even know how to discuss that because that says it all. I'm going to read it again. Do more deals with less effort. If you put too much neediness on a deal or put it in your mind as you must have it, the deal will run away. Much like the faster you chase sellers, the faster they run.
Mm-hmm.
When you think you must have a deal, that tension leaks out of you and into the seller's surroundings and makes them hesitant. Don't do it. Get your poker face down pat and wear it.
Is it true that if nothing else, looking needy like that would prompt the seller to expect you to pay more and to give more for the deal? It's like when you go to buy a car, you jump up and down how much you love something. The car seller guy is gonna like gouge the price up because you really want it. Aren't you supposed to act like, I don't really want it that much? Like with a girl or a boy, right? Same thing.
Right.
If not, so the worst that can happen, if you get the deal, you'll pay too much.
So let's talk about this word, Peter, called perception.
Perception.
What is perception?
Perception comes from perceiving, which is seeing things, taking things in, sight, sound, ideas, just all the things that come in that you have to put together so you can make decisions about things.
Okay, that's a good definition, but I think I've got a different one.
What do you got?
Perception is receiving information without the senses. So it's without sight, sound. It's a feeling. Ever walk into a room where two people were fighting just before you got in there, and you walk in and you feel it?
They left.
You didn't see it. You didn't see it. You didn't taste it. You didn't hear it. You perceived it. It was getting information without the senses.
But you're experiencing something. You feel something.
It's in the air.
It's extra sensory.
It's a sentient thing. Only humans can do it. Actually, animals do it too because that's how they survive.
They're probably better at it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just really, really careful.
AKA, why would somebody that's blind have better hearing or better senses? Yeah. It's a perception thing, right?
Yeah.
Why does somebody that's deaf have better eyesight? Right? Now, I'm saying it's receiving information without the senses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's perception. So that's what we're talking about here, right? Do more deals with less effort. If you put too much neediness on the deal or put it in your mind, you must have it, the deal will run away. Much like the faster you chase sellers, the faster they run. When you think you must do a deal, that tension leaks out of you and into the seller's surrounding and makes them hesitant. You don't even know you're doing it.
No. Well, you wouldn't, because you're paying too much attention to yourself in the first place.
Right.
That's the problem. You're paying attention to you when you should be
Right.
paying attention to the seller.
Right.
You're so much thinking about what you got to do. Forget what you need to do. You want to make money, relax, and help the seller.
Right. Exactly right, Peter.
Paying too much attention to yourself. Me. We are wonderful, but take it easy.
Number 3, the must. I wrote must. It's the most unsexiest secret to get deals. The most unsexiest secret to get deals.
As long as you get deals, I'll deal with it.
Sincerely care about the seller. Sincerely. What does sincerely mean?
Not faking it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's real. And you should. I mean, if you have no empathy, go get another job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at all the nurses and doctors and people that help people. Look how much, empathy they have and sincerity. You have to.
I got a good idea, Peter. If you don't have empathy, go be a truck driver so you can cut me off on the highway.
Yeah. Beep, beep. Beep, beep.
Sincerely care about the seller. This is where I talk about delivering exceptional seller customer service, regardless if it's a deal for you or not.
Yeah.
Even if you aren't going to do anything or get anything back, just the karma alone will propel you into the future and you will get deals. Realize, this is important now, Peter. Now, we've talked about this in the last couple of podcasts, so I'm hung up on this because the students that are doing this, that are going out and studying the seller, are having huge wins.
Yeah, having fun.
Yeah.
They're getting less scared. Bill, they're getting less scared.
Yeah. Realize a problem almost 100% of the time is lack of action or the wrong action. So if you come along and put in some action that addresses the seller's problem or different action than previously applied by the seller, you will make positive motion.
Mm.
And the seller will want to reciprocate in some way because you help them. Even if as little as turning you onto another seller.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are you laughing for?
Because I thought, no, you paused so long I thought you froze.
Realize a problem almost 100% of the time is lack of action or the wrong action. So if you come along and put in some action that addresses the seller's problem or different action than previously applied by the seller, you will make positive motion and the seller will want to reciprocate in some way, even if it's as little as giving you another seller.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say customer service, I mean take something that they're having trouble confronting or looking at or doing something about because it's a weakness for them. You do it for them.
Yeah.
Like they're in foreclosure, which we don't do those deals, but they're in foreclosure. So call the bank and find out how much they owe with them on the phone, right? They don't know where to go move. So go find a place for them to move. Find an apartment. They're stuck in their head because they're like, I would leave here tomorrow, but I got 3 dogs and I can't find a place to live with 3 dogs. So go find that place. That's right, Desiree. Desiree says that can be applied to our own problems in life. And you know what I say to that, Peter?
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Number 4. How am I doing so far, right? Is this too profound?
No.
Number 4. Being a pro investor without training. My definition of a pro investor is an investor whom is proactive with sellers. We were just talking about that. They're proactive with sellers. In other words, when doing number 3, which is caring about the seller, which we just talked about, and exceptional customer service, right?
Yeah.
Take ownership of the situation that the seller has. Act as if it was your problem and work on it as if it was your problem. Now, obviously it's not, and you can walk away whenever you want, but take ownership of that problem. Cause something to happen rather than responding to it after it happened. That's being proactive. Cause something to happen, right, before it happens. Or worse, ignore it and not help the seller, which leaves the no feeling good memories with the seller.
Yeah.
Not feeling good, really. Right? So if you don't do nothing, they're not going to remember you. This is the case of you call them back 2 months later or a month later, and they're like, who? They don't remember talking to you.
Yeah.
Right? Amateur investors do this. They're not proactive. They're reactive. And respond or don't respond and ignore things. Right? Or ignore the situation rather than confronting it. This is very self-determined and is only looking out for the investor. And often feels like a needy, greedy investor to the seller. Remember, sellers want to do deals with people they trust. Right?
Yeah, I can imagine they're looking for somebody. Well, they have to have confidence that you'll do what needs to be done, but they're looking for somebody who'll solve their problem. So maybe those two things combined. You know, I was thinking about this the other day, talking to somebody about something almost a little bit different, but the idea is you want to be kind of powerful. You want to be in a good condition. You want to be affluent. You want to have a lot of real estate. You want to have a lot of money. You want to have a lot of success. Well, how do you do that? Solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. Go above and beyond what you think you normally have to do. Do more for somebody. Well, it's not my problem. It's not my job. Why doesn't he do it? Why don't you help him do it? You know, they'll appreciate that. We've done things with people. We spend time digging up data for people, and you call them back and you tell them what you found out about their property and an easement or a property line or something like that, the taxes, you know, who has the deed, you know, any old thing. And they're like blown away, like, really, you found that out for me? And they've been here for years and didn't know. And we spend a little time. We've done that. You've done that.
Yeah.
And they're so appreciative. Like, it kind of blows their mind. If nothing else, they like you. And if it's you or this other guy, which one should I sell to? It'll be you.
So, why Peter, not? I have said what you're saying for the last 233 podcasts.
Bill, I finally got it.
But I want to tell you that even though I announced last week that it was the last show of 2020, I wasn't thinking, and you tried to correct me, and I told you no. Today is the last time of the year. I want to end 2020 with this thought. I don't want you to solve problems for people anymore.
Yeah.
I want you to try to to solve problems for people. There's a difference. If you're going to go solve problems for people, that means that you need to have this vast education, and you're going to spend a lot of time watching videos and coming up with solutions just in case they say it.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be the problem solver that has all the little neat tricks in your back pocket.
Or
and
like
that makes for, what's that?
Like a magician.
Yeah, exactly. That makes for a long runway of training investors to become professional. But if you just switch that one idea in your head that you're going to try to help them solve that problem, you too will be learning how to fix that problem proactively. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Proactively. The difference between a professional investor and an amateur investor is a professional investor is proactive. He's proactive with his questions. He or she is proactive with the interaction in solving of the problems that the seller has.
Yeah.
So they're proactive in finding the problems and proactive in helping or trying to solve the problems with the seller. And when you do that, that is an education you cannot write Ron LeGrand for 30 grand, or Than Merrill for 40 grand, or Kiyosaki for 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do that. They can't help you with that. What I'm telling you to do is get your education for free. That's right. Desiree says, bring up the objections before they bring them up. We talked about that last week, right?
Yep.
But what I'm talking about right now is just being human. Just go into a house and talk to a seller and find out. And I'm going to cover this in a couple of minutes, right? And the last couple of our podcasts, since I think episode 230, we've been on this.
Yeah.
Right? Just go in a house and observe your seller. Hear their questions. Feel their pain. Understand their obstacles. And then you make it your own. You take responsibility for it. Make it your problem. Right?
But you make a good point that if you try to be ready for anything that'll come up, you can never do that because you don't know. What I noticed with you in the deals we do, you're not worried about what's going to come up because whatever comes up, you just kind of work on it as it comes up. You don't have to know the answer. You make a few phone calls, ask a few people, think about it a day or two, and just come up with a solution. And what's good about that is you're only having to work on what you need to work on for now. But every time you do this, like learning music, you learn one song, the next song, you learn a little bit each time, and it adds up. And over time, you'll have a little bit of a bag of tricks, but you just need the bag of tricks for the deal you're working on, and you can work that out. You can make a few phone calls. You can ask some people. You can get answers.
This is true, Peter. And I'm going to cover this a little bit later, but I'm going to just dabble on it right now. That's the difference between an amateur investor and a pro investor. A professional investor will go in and do a discovery stage in one visit and then go back with answers. An amateur will try to react at the first visit. They're reacting to what the seller says, and they need to have their little manipulation tricks and sayings and closing tools to close the seller on, you need to do this in one meeting. So they think they're going to go in, and it used to be that way. 10 years ago, it was like that. Nowadays, with all the scams in the world and the way the world is, and, you know, all the political problems and, you know, pandemics, and people are just more skeptical. So you need to deal with that. So a proactive investor is going to go in. He's going to do the discovery stage correctly. He's going to find out what's going on and then go off and find solutions and come back and make the presentation with the solutions in it. Right?
And the seller will trust that more because it seems more real.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Where the reactive amateur investor is going to stand in front of them and make it look like he's got all the answers. He's the magic pill or the magic wand for their problem.
Yeah, we have a name for guys like that. We call them slick.
Yeah, there you go. Number 5, Peter.
Uh-huh.
As my Buddy, I was deciding what to call him, Mr. Ben Settle, and Doug Diana have taught me.
There's a new name.
Yeah, he's one of Ben's guys that he reads a lot with. Doug Diana have taught me so eloquently the dog treat method. If you've ever had a dog, you would know not all dogs come to you when you call them.
Mm-hmm.
Except for your dog, Karma. He's a master at listening, right?
Yeah. She, by the way, she just stares at me.
Yeah.
Here, Karma. She just stares at me. Come here, Karma. Come see Daddy. She just stares at me. Karma, you want a treat? Woo!
There you go.
Yeah.
But if you know this simple trick, you can be a dog whisperer or an angel that all dogs flock to when you call them. And you just said it. Just hold up the dog's favorite treat, and every time they will come a running.
Mm-hmm.
Same works for sellers, Peter. Find out what the seller wants, then show them how to get it, and you're in.
Yeah.
It's back to the customer service philosophy again.
Mm-hmm.
So you go in, do the discovery stage, right?
Yeah.
Find out what's needed and wanted, and then present it to them. It's not magical. It's just human. You don't need to study education or real estate education for 5 years to have all those magical, powerful, little one-sentence closing tools. You don't need that. Our world of skepticism has made it easier for us to teach. Wouldn't it be a lot more powerful when you are learning with the seller how to solve their problems because you own the problem as much as they do? Wouldn't that be a much better feeling for a seller? Feeling like you're consulting them and you're on their side, like you're a spouse or a brother or a kid, a sibling, something like that.
And are you trying to get them to participate in some of the solutions too?
Yeah. Well, you're going to change their viewpoint. You're going to change the way they're looking at the problem. And by reevaluating or re-reasoning, they'll get into action. The only way to solve a problem is to get into action.
Right. Is that where you go with somebody and like at the end of the meeting, you go, look, I'm going to go check this and this, and can you check that and that? So they have to go do something. Is that part of it?
Yeah.
And that probably makes them feel better that they're doing something, no? Yeah.
Production is the basis of morale.
Yeah. Sounds like it's probably better.
So when they start producing towards that problem, or they start trying to solve that problem, their morale's going to go up.
Yeah, that's even better than you go solving everything for them. Who likes to have somebody fix all your own problems? People resent that.
My 3-year-old grandson, which you're right, by the way, my 3-year-old grandson. The other day, I'm out changing the gas grill. Changing a bottle on a gas grill, and he's helping me. I made him feel like he was carrying the grass bottle. He wasn't doing crap, but he felt good.
Yeah.
I made him go out to the car with me. I was getting some tools. He was out there. Hell, we had 18 inches of snow, and it's all gone now. But the other day, because I knew I wanted to fire up my grill, I took a little shovel that I had gotten purposely for him, and I made him go out and shovel snow. I tell you, this is probably not something I should say in the podcast, but I'm going to say it anyways. My kids, my 2 daughters, and then I have a stepson. My philosophy with my children was I had children, just like the farmer. I had children to help me do the chores. So do the chores.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. It's production, and it boosts their morale. My little grandson, my daughter said to me when I dropped him off, or when she actually picked him up, she's like, "What did you do to Max?" I'm like, I didn't say nothing to her. His morale was up. I made him shovel the snow and help me with the gas grill. And then we hung curtains up, and he handed me the screws. Mm-hmm. I made him feel like he's part of the process. That's no different than you dealing with your seller with a problem. There's not a single ounce of difference between the two. He felt good. He went home with his mom, and she noticed the difference. And she said for days he was a good boy.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't say this to her. And if she listens to this podcast, which is possible, she'll be like, oh, Dad tricked me. But it worked.
Yeah.
John says, slow it down when doing the meetings. Seems needy when jumping to conclusions.
Okay? Yeah.
So there's a philosophy out there called ABC selling. Always be closing.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Right? I think that's 100% correct, except not the way they explain it. The way you're always closing is by asking the right questions. And you're getting the seller engaged. You're getting them to look at the problem and getting them to work it through their mind and start imagining how the solutions could be. Pose to them, what if, or imagine this, or if I had a magic wand, what would you want? And you get them to develop those or mock up those pictures in their mind of how it could be. Getting way too deep. Number 6. Which brings me to number 6, actually, what we're talking about. Try to eat an elephant in one bite. Can't do it, right? What I'm talking about here is almost every newbie investor thinks they need to do before they go in the house, which we've already talked about, which is learn everything under the sun before talking to the seller. Just so the seller can give an intelligent answer, so they think. This is too much like so many of my friends and families going to college. Spending 20 grand to 40 grand per year for multiple years, Peter. Getting the almighty degree by graduating. Then not getting a job in that field or industry. Why?
Bill, I have one of my students going to Harvard, studying her brains out. Been doing it for years, studying constantly, on vacation, studying for this and for that. I asked her, how much of this are you going to be using? She looked at me like, oh, not much. Not much. Even if she becomes an actual doctor, not much. There's so much you don't need. So much.
So I'm going to get personal and tell a story just like you just told. Yeah. So yesterday was a long day for me because I had a meeting with the Israel people. I had a meeting last night with, I taught people. We had a whole virtual workshop on how to fill out lease options, and I gave away the lease options as a Christmas gift. Plus, in the middle of that, I had one of my deals blow up. My Yale Avenue deal blew up. Plus, I had my friend, Jay's truck broke down. I had to go help him. And, I had all this. Plus, I had to write the podcast. I mean, it was just a long day, right? And normally I don't complain about long days, but yesterday was just a long day. So I lay down, I get in bed, and I'm like ready to just fall asleep. I've got the TV on, and here comes my wife. And she's bitching because it's the first time in 243 days that she hasn't done her Spanish lesson.
Spanish lesson?
243 days. And she's told me this before, but I didn't really pay attention. So she's like, this is the first time in 243 days I haven't done my Spanish lesson. And I said to her, don't worry about it. She goes, no. I'm like, Pamela, I'm going to bed. I don't want to hear about it. Pretty much shut up. I didn't tell her that, but that was my connotation. She's like, you don't care about me. I'm like, yes, I do. That's why I'm going to tell you this. You've spent 243 days to learn Spanish, and you can't speak Spanish. Don't worry about it. Same thing. So my point is that with my wife and with your story and people going to college, I believe it's because the student didn't know what they didn't know. Or the student had a different concept of how it was going to really work.
So I'm getting the impression that they try to learn everything just in case.
But they don't know what everything is. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what everything
is.
But
they just sit there and just be inundated with 6 chapters here, 14 chapters there, a report here, and a thing there. And
just or they get onto a webinar and they hear what other people's influences or ideas are, but not their experience.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'll give you a classic one. Like this weekend, I am doing the best webinar ever in the history of real estate. And I am not being arrogant. I am telling you, I am going to do something nobody in 20 years and over $100,000 in my education. I even commissioned my VA to go find this material and cannot find it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. Subject to the way I do it. Taking over mortgages, having the mortgage stay in the seller's name, you get the deed, you control the property, and you own the property. I didn't realize how good I was at it until I started teaching. I've got tricks that I've only taught in my private coaching group. So the first thing I hear all the time, which is the point that I'm trying to make, is, oh, you trigger the due on sale clause. The bank could call in the loan.
Yeah.
That's what I hear in the seminars and I hear out there and I see in the forums. And that's what people think. You can't do, you shouldn't do subject to deals because of due on sale clause. Yep. When you do the deals the way I do them, you actually get the bank to help you do the deal. They know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And they don't trigger the due on sale clause because they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they don't know.
All right. And I've made those phone calls for you. Hello. Yeah. Calling about such and such property, blah, 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 blah. They go, okay, here you go. Send this, send that. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. Done.
So
I was only nervous the first time.
Yeah, it was like because you've been hearing all the rhetoric out there about how it doesn't work. And that's my point.
I didn't know what kind of reaction I get, but it was totally fine. And so it's really easy. It's
so funny. This is like studying about automobiles or cars,
mm-hmm.
but never seeing a car. How can you do this?
Mm-hmm.
How like could you study deal structuring for pretty houses? Now, if you're going to do MLS and you're going to just deal with the bank, then you don't need to do any of this. But if you're going to get creative deals and you're going to get off-market properties, mm-hmm. and you're going to deal with the seller directly without some sort of intermediate type help, you need to know this stuff. Now, what I'm telling you is you don't need to know it the way you think you need to know it. You don't need to get trained by listening to people like me and all the other guys out there. The best way to get started is to get out there, talk to these sellers, observe their concerns, observe their obstacles, observe their problems by making them your own. Feel them with them. Right? Like if I was going to be a copywriter and charged my customer $5,000 for a sales letter, which by the way is very common, for a massage therapist, the first thing I'm going to want to do is go get a massage from her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to want to go through her, and assuming it's a her, I'm going to go through her services to find out how it works. How do I sign up? How do I pay? How does it feel? How do I have to show up to the appointment? What do I feel when I leave? How many days afterwards did it last? Those are all things that I'm going to write about. I have to experience that service, which, by the way, we've talked about this in the past. The most wonderful, the best TV show that I have ever seen in my entire life is Undercover Boss. Because that's the executive that created the monstrosity, the organization that's a living thing, actually having to go back to confrontation with his customer that's paying him. Subway was one of them, Subway sub shops. The owner had no idea what the customer wanted and needed until he stood there as a fake employee and had to make a sub for one of his customers that has made him millions.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It's crazy.
So far removed, you know?
So the best thing that anybody can do listening to me right now is go study your sellers. And that's what I'm talking about here. You don't, well, let me just keep reading so what I'm saying here is study your seller first. That's who is going to pay you. That's who's going to pay you is the seller by giving you equity to go sell to your buyer. That's how you're making your money. The seller's giving you equity or cash flow to go sell to your buyer. You do this by observing how the sellers respond to you, their emotions about their specific problems, learning what they have or have not done already. So my advice here is don't try to learn everything under the sun so you can do one visit and have all the answers like we spoke about. But instead, go out, do a discovery visit, find out what's needed and wanted, and then return with solutions or proposals to the solutions, getting them to shift their viewpoint with different proposals. That is eating an elephant one bite at a time, not all at one bite. Yeah?
Sounds right.
You're not talking much more this morning, Peter. Either I'm way off base or I'm nailing it. Which one is it?
Oh, I just jump in when I have something to say. You're fine. You're fine.
Number 7, which brings me to my favorite one. Be a nosy bitch.
No, wait a minute. Why bitch? Could have been bastard, you know.
Because I'm a guy. And I've dated some of these girls.
Oh.
Be a nosy bitch.
Ah.
He or she, if you want to make it that way, Peter, he or she who asks the most questions in creative real estate wins deals.
Really? The most questions?
He or she that asks the most questions in creative real estate wins deals. If you want a leg up with your education and become a pro investor, making consistent deals month in and month out, you will study your seller by observing reactions to your questions. This will, number 1, help you make the perfect proposal. And number 2, help you learn where your strengths are and weaknesses are, which in turn will show you where to get educated or where to get help to apply and get results.
I like that because it puts the emphasis on asking, not talking at them.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, Bill. Because you talk about some of the students and coaching students and me and other people who just like blah 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 blah. Then we do this and we do that. Blah 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 blah. We just talk them like, you know, like it's the seminar, right? The seminar.
Give them a seminar, yeah. So Peter, please do me a favor and ask me what is number 7 again, Bill? Because I want to say it again.
Bill, oh, that's a question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bill, what's number 7? Say it again. I like that one.
Don't be a nosy bitch. No, actually, be a nosy bitch is what it is.
Yeah.
If you want to leg up with your education and become a pro investor, making consistent deals month after month, you will study your seller by observing reactions to your questions.
Mm.
This will, number 1, help you make the perfect proposal. And number 2, help you learn where your strengths and weaknesses are, which in turn will show you where to get your education and apply and get results.
Yeah, it's important because when you're, you know, as much as people listen to this and do other reading and studying, you're still kind of teaching yourself in the end, you know?
Right.
So you have to be willing to notice what you're missing and just go learn about it. I've had to do that many times in careers that I've had because you look around, there's nobody to help. So I screwed that up, damn it. And you go, okay, I better fix that next time. And then you fix
Right.
it so you don't do that next time. You do some other stupid thing. But you keep
Exactly.
fixing them. You get sharp that way. They
Re-
can't sit in, oh, I made a mistake. I better not do this anymore. Just
Mhm.
fix it and move on.
Proactive investors will recognize the mistakes as help. Reactive will remember them,
Oh,
thinking that they need to store them in their mind and protect them and not do it again.
oh no, that's the wrong way to do that. Oh no, 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 no. No. Uh-uh. It's okay. I have a friend that worked in engineering, and they worked on spacesuits and aerospace, all that kind of stuff. Lots of computers, right? And every time, once in a while, a computer would have a problem. Like it just wouldn't handle the load. It wasn't big enough, strong enough, memory, and they'd have to call the company. And the company wouldn't go, "Oh man, what a problem." They would go, "Yes, sirree, another opportunity to make more money." So it's a
Right.
problem that gave them an opportunity to help them, give them a new system, send repair guys in, new sales, and everybody worked. It worked out for everybody that way. It's okay.
Nice.
It's okay.
Good
It's
example.
okay. Yeah, that was our friend Al.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
That's right. I have two friends, Joel, Al. Joel worked on this oxygen regulator on spacesuits when they did spacewalks in space, and one didn't work once.
Oh
It
no.
was no, it was him and another guy had to fix that because a whole like millions of dollars of experiments couldn't be done. So it was like bad. So he had to hustle to get that one fixed.
Cool.
Ooh, yeah, real life. You got to fix it.
Number 8, Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Wearing offer goggles.
Offer goggles.
This is where you change your position of looking at the deal. You change your position of looking at the deal. Your viewpoint, which we've already discussed, the way you're looking at it, or your viewpoint of looking at the deal has to change. Your viewpoint is not correct because if it was, you would be doing paperwork on the deal or you would be doing more deals. So if you're doing everything I'm talking about and if you saw the deal for what it was, you'd be closing it. So the fact that you don't have a deal means you need to put your deal goggles on because you're not seeing something.
Okay.
So once you put your goggles on, you start off with, this is what you say to the seller: I need your help. This startles your seller.
Hmm.
You take them off their pedestal where they are looking down on you because you're not giving them what they want. And this is where you take the no's and turn them into yeses. Part 2 of wearing your goggles is to ask, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? And they will tell you what they will accept. You don't need to be a genius to be a creative real estate transaction engineer. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you can go off and figure out how to do it with one of my 7 deal strategies or pass on the deal.
So I'm getting an idea from this. This sounds like, if I'm working with somebody, I get to the point, oh, they don't want to do it. Fail, give up. It's a no. Don't bother. At that point, you could still put these goggles on. I'm going to have imaginary goggles. They're going to be rose colored. I'm going to put them back on and just go, wait a minute. What can I do here? There's got to be something I should try. Don't give up that easily. Look harder. Ask more questions. Look at it from a different viewpoint, and just try again.
No.
Okay. What? What?
You are 100% correct, but don't try harder. It should be effortless, like we spoke about earlier.
Oh, I'm just meaning don't give up.
Yeah. So what you need to do is you need to shift your way of thinking and then say to the seller, I need your help. What would have to happen for me to buy a house today? And just let them tell you. So this is like getting up from the table in the interrogation room, walking around the other side of the table and looking at the bottle of water from their side.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you. Now, here's the thing. You can go off and figure out how to do it with one of my 7 deal strategies, or you can write a contract and pass it on to somebody else. Either way, it's good. You will make a deal, or you won't make a deal and make room in your mind for a new deal. You know, the biggest problem that I have with my investors that I train is mind deals. Like we talked about earlier, they'll call me up and say, so-and-so is, said they're willing to hear about payments. And in their head, they already have the deal structured, done, and they're already buying the new car.
That's right.
Right? Wrong viewpoint. That what you should do on every deal, and the magic of making real estate transactions, is to focus on your next step. Just do the next step. And there you go.
Yep.
And when you do that and you look at, you put on these deal goggles and you wonder why the deal's not flowing or not going, you need to ask your seller, how come? Let me give you a classic example.
Yeah.
House is worth $200,000. The seller wants $200,000. And the only way the seller is willing to do the deal is if they get $200,000.
Okay.
Would you say that's a deal or not?
Well, it depends on how you structure it. If you wanted $200,000 cash, probably not.
Okay.
Will he wait?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You put your deal goggles on and you say to the seller, okay, so there's going to be a 12 to 15% cost in sale.
Yep.
Let's just say he's wicked stubborn, and will only give you maybe a $5,000 because he's got to pay somebody to help him sell it. He's going to have some closing costs. So let's say he's willing to give you a $5,000 discount, which is nothing in a $200,000 deal.
Yep.
You could take that deal, sign an option agreement, go sell it for $200,000 or $203,000, and make $5,000.
Yep.
I would never do that deal, which is why I don't talk about it. But there are a lot of listeners right now that would love to make $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
My fives need a few more zeros at the end of them.
Right, at your stage of the game, sure. But if somebody's new to this and hasn't done anything, it sure is better than not doing nothing, honey. Do that.
To your point,
make money. To learn this and make money learning it instead of paying money to learn it.
I was just going to say,
anything above zero is okay at this point.
To your point, how much of an education are you going to save by doing this deal, even if you made nothing on it?
Yeah, breaking even is good education.
Or even if you just help the seller, what kind of karma would that be?
Yeah.
Being a FSBO agent, a for sale by owner agent, not a real estate agent, a FSBO agent, helping them get the deal done. And you learn along the way. You go through the process for nothing. If you did it for free, you would still be making a shit ton of money. You'd be minimally making the $30,000 that these other guys charge for training, and you would get more of a training than they would be able to give you. And you can't make a mistake because you tell the seller the truth. I'm brand new at this, but I would love to help you so I can learn something. Would you be willing to let me do it? And you go put it on, you go advertise it, and you go out there and figure out things you never even knew you had to do. Because you used your offer goggles and you did something a little different than what had gotten you to this point.
Yep.
Number 9. Scare the hell out of the seller.
Wait a minute. That doesn't sound right. What do you mean, William?
The fear of loss is a huge emotional obstacle for most sellers.
Oh, yeah. That's what they're trying to avoid, right?
Here is how you do it. What are you going to do if I don't buy your house?
Yeah.
Or I say it today. What are you going to do if I don't buy your house today? Or you could just say, what are you going to do if I don't buy your house?
Yeah.
Then shut up. Sometimes for minutes. There's dead silence. Endure that silence. The longer it is, the better your chance of doing this deal, because the cogs are turning. The wheels are turning. They're looking for plan B. So in a nutshell, I could take 234 podcasts and put them into a couple sentences. Seriously.
Yeah, but don't worry about it. We're thick. We need to be told over and over. Go ahead.
In creative real estate, what we're looking to do is be plan A for someone's deal structure, or for someone's sale of their house. That's a prospect. The suspects have plan A, and they're testing you to see if there's a plan B.
Okay.
It's the difference. So you want to be plan A for someone. You want to be their solution. You want to be there. So when they get to this point and you're plan A for them, and you're their solution, and you're their end all be all for their problem or for their relief of this piece of real estate, and then you say to them, because now they're starting to act a little bit dickish, or they're doing something stupid or whatever, you say to them, so what happens if I don't buy your house? What are you going to do then? It startles them. They weren't thinking that. They're like, oh shit, I'm starting to lose them. I got to reel them back in. I got to cool my jets a little bit. Maybe I should rethink what I'm saying. They humble. Unless, of course, they're a suspect.
Yeah.
Which in that particular case is not a bad thing, because if you say to them, what would happen? What would happen? Not to mention, like I'm going to give you a classic example. So I just released on email, actually it's on Facebook, but I released it on email to test it on my email list, right? I looked at a house the week before Christmas. House is in foreclosure. I don't know if you saw that email.
I think, yeah.
House is worth $173,000. She owes $68,000.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that.
I need $37,000 in repairs, which was a little conservative, but I need $37,000 in repairs. It's a deal. It's a actual wholesale. It's a wholesale deal. It's a fix and flip deal. It's all of it.
She'll take the 68?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
She wanted 100 because another investor offered her 100 without looking at the house. So I tell her what I can do is I could pay off the bank at $68,000, and I'll give her $2,500 walk-in money, which, by the way, she doesn't live in a house, her daughter does. So she can give her daughter $2,500 to move.
Mm-hmm.
You know what she said? I got to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said to her exactly what I'm telling you to do right now. What are you going to do if I don't buy the house? I'm just going to let it go to foreclosure.
She said that?
Yep.
Why would she do that?
Doesn't matter. The question that I asked her gave me the truth of where she's really at.
Right. But I mean, you would follow up then, no?
I don't know that I want to buy the house.
Wow.
More to the point. That's not even the point of this conversation. The point is now what do I have? I have the truth of where the customer's really coming from.
They're willing to let the house go into foreclosure.
Now
Not even bother.
Now watch this. You ready? If I wanted to pursue it, which I didn't, I just said to her, okay, no problem. Give me a call if you need me. Because I made my decision. That is not the right decision. Because really I should buy this house and I should wholesale it to somebody. Mm-hmm. But I just don't really, I really don't want to deal with it. Because I got too much going on.
Yeah.
Right? But now that I talk to you, I'm probably being selfish because we should probably buy it and you should probably sell it. In any event, I lost my train of thought. So she says...
It was the point of like asking the questions and then...
So I said to her, what are you going to do if I don't buy your house today? I'm going to let it go to foreclosure. Next question should have been, if I wanted the house, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Yeah.
Those questions in sync like that, you don't need to be a genius to do this. You don't need to train for 100 years. There's 2 or 3 questions, bam, 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 and right away you got the deal. You make a decision. Do I want it or don't I want it?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be some genius that has talked to, or not even a genius, in my case, a dumbass that talked to 5,000 or 6,000 people to learn this. I'm telling you, this is what I learned after 20 years. I'm telling you, just do this. You don't have to go learn this. I'm your research and development department. Just do these questions.
Yep.
They're not hard. Number 10, the Pepsi challenge. Pepsi became Pepsi by comparing themselves to Coke. In other words, instead of pretending other choices are possible for your seller, like a realtor, use this to compare your proposal to that opposition. Acknowledge the other possibilities, then invite the prospect to play out both scenarios with you so they can work it out while you're standing there in front of them.
So is this used when somebody says they might sell it with a realtor?
Anything. I have another offer. Like my girl said to me, I got an offer for 100,000.
Yeah.
Did they look at the house? No. What do you think is going to happen when they come in the house and they look at the house and realize how much work needs to be done inside instead of just driving by? Because from the outside, it doesn't look horrible. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can almost guarantee you if they're anything like I am, they're going to probably drop their price down because of the amount of repairs that it needs. Have you ever thought of that? No.
Mm. Yeah.
It's the Pepsi challenge.
But you're still doing it with questions, is what I'm really noticing. Because you could stand there and just almost berate them by just telling them, well, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And nobody likes to be talked to like that or just told what's going to happen. It's better when you ask those kind of questions where they think about it and they think they came to figure it out themselves because they did. But you're just making them look.
I'm getting them to take a look at this without confrontation and without persuasion. I'm just getting them to look at it. That's all I'm asking them to do is just look at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
Just look at it. I'm not asking you to make a decision. Just look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's something you think is reasonable, then use that in your decision process. That's it.
Yeah.
So the Pepsi challenge is use this to compare your proposal to. So use whatever comparison they have in their head to make your proposal.
Mm-hmm. So that would fit after you ask, what are you going to do if you don't sell the house to me?
Whatever. But so they say, I'm going to list it with a realtor. Okay. Then you use that to compare your offer to. Well, did you know a realtor is going to cost you 12 or 15%?
Mm-hmm.
Cost to sell. Cost to sell is the most common way that we use this Pepsi challenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah. I didn't know it was a Pepsi challenge all these years.
I didn't either. I just named it. 11. I got to read my own writing. But 11, I just figured it out. Threaten their families. Notice they got better as I kept writing.
Jeez, Bill.
Threaten their families. Here, you want the seller to be at his own funeral and see the hearse pull up.
Ouch.
What I mean is the seller is aware of how his decision is affecting those around him. Has he thought about that or only thinking about himself? So you're in foreclosure, Mr. Seller. How's it affecting your family getting those phone calls every single day asking to get the money for the house? Mm. What does it do to them? If you move, Mr. Seller, and your kids are in a different school system, what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, those are two lame examples, but that's the point is you have to get them to realize, you have to ask them the actual awareness that they have of the surrounding people around them. How is their decision or their problem affecting others or infecting others? You can do this by asking, how is this going to affect blank? How's this going to affect your wife? How's this going to affect your kids? How's this going to affect your boss?
Yep.
They aren't thinking of that. They're so introverted and so subjective about it, and so reasonable in their own mind, and accepting their own answers or solutions or denial. They aren't even taking a look at how they're affecting other people. So one of the last ditch efforts, I'll say for a lack of words, that I'll use is, so how is this affecting blank?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie says this is great info. Thank you for the feedback. How is it affecting others? You'll be amazed at how you can shift the way the sellers look at this decision when they start looking at it from the viewpoint of their family or those around them.
Which they should be doing, because everybody's involved with this and going to be affected.
There's the mistake right there, Peter. You just nailed it. They should be doing it. Don't assume that they are doing it.
Yeah.
Don't assume. What I'm telling you to do is threaten their families. And what I mean by that is it's obviously a play on words, but what I mean by that is get them to look at get them to be aware of the effect in their surroundings by the decisions they're making. Like, for example, this woman that I have in foreclosure has a daughter living in the house with an autistic child.
Jesus.
How is it affecting that family, the daughter and the boyfriend? I'll tell you how it's affecting them. He was in the basement with me, the boyfriend or the husband or whatever he was in the basement with me, complaining about how the stuff in the basement wasn't even theirs. And it wasn't the mother's who owns the house. It was when they bought the house, it was in the basement already and they never took it out. And he's like, I can't do it because you know what? Nobody really gets what it's like having an autistic child, the challenges we have with an autistic child.
Yeah. Yep.
So the mother who owns the house, who is not paying the mortgage because they're not paying her, hasn't thought of or is aware of the challenges they're going through, and vice versa. They aren't thinking about the challenges the mother's going through by them not paying her. And it's this cluster F.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so weird. Well, obviously she's not, because she's willing to let the house go into foreclosure, and you're offering her at least money to help them move. And she's not even thinking of that. Okay, let it go in foreclosure. What's going to happen to your daughter and your grandson?
Right.
If you just foreclose on the house, what's going to happen to them?
Right.
There's a question. Huh?
See how powerful that is?
Yeah. If you're just thinking along those terms, like, what about the family? What's going to happen now? Wow. Jeez.
See how powerful that is.
Oh, hell
This is not real estate talk either. This is just being human. Just being human.
Yeah, if you just care a little bit.
Being humane. Number 12, Peter. Number 12, the last one for today.
Number 12.
Hey, when I wrote it, I wrote 21. I was a little bit zealous. But when I got halfway through, I'm like, that'll take us 3 hours to do that. So we're not doing that. So maybe we'll continue it next week. Maybe we won't. Who knows? Last one for today. Using Harry Potter's magic wand.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hear me loudly, Peter. You do this, and I don't think you know you do this. But hear me loudly. I'm at the top of the church steeple yelling as loud as I can right now. Under promise, over deliver. That's customer service at the ultimate degree.
Yeah.
Do this by asking, if I had a magic wand and waved it over your transaction, what would you want? How many times have you heard me say that?
Oh, yeah, I have. Right in the house.
If I had a magic wand and waved it over your transaction, what would you want? I use this when I'm confused. When I'm in a deal and I have too many contrary facts, like they're telling me they want to sell it for cash, but they're asking me how much would I pay for monthly payments? Those are contrary facts. They're two facts that can't be true. So one of them must be incorrect, and I don't know which one it is.
Right.
I get confused. So instead of going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure it out, I'll ask this question. If I had a magic wand and waved it over your transaction, what would you want? Now, this sounds a little hooky or hokey.
But it never goes over hokey with people. They love to hear that because you're telling them, what do you really want? And the magic wand is just poetic. It's just poetic.
I've done this and made more deals than I care to discuss just by this one thing. I've turned around more deals or walked away from more deals from this one sentence than anything else. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I've seen you do it. Because when you ask that, if they gave you something ridiculous that you really can't do, they want too much, and they're not giving you anything, then it's just time to go home.
Yep.
Or you'll find something that you can do.
Yep. Realize this. Everything in this world has an exchange.
Yep.
I say to you, Peter, what do you think? Your exchange is you give it back to me. I say to my wife, do you want a Pepsi? She says, thank you. I get the satisfaction of making her happy. Everything has exchange. So if your seller is going to give you equity or cash flow, you need to give them an exchange. Otherwise, they won't want to do it. So the magic behind all of this is, as long as they feel like that exchange is comparable enough for what they're giving you, they'll do the deal. Yeah. They have to feel like they either have fair exchange or exchange in abundance to give it to you. It can't be poor exchange. It has to be fair or abundant for them to give you this house or let you control it. So at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out what is fair exchange or abundant exchange that they'll say yes to. Right? It's no harder than that.
Sounds a little bit like give and take.
All right? And none of this is a long, expensive education to do. What we've been talking about today. Just get out there in houses, talk to sellers, do these natural points we went over, and one, you will get the best education ever for free, especially if you record yourself talking to people. 2, most likely have a deal fall into your lap by accident because you're being the perfect reluctant buyer.
Yeah.
And number 3, if there is a deal that falls in the lap and you're not ready, just assign it to somebody else and make a few bucks. Send me a support ticket and I'll see if I can help you. Or get into the RIA and say, I got this deal. I want, $200 for it or $10,000 for it. And just assign it.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong doing what we've been talking about. There's no downside other than your ego and you think you're right when you're not and finding that out. There's no downside to it. 12. What did you say? 12 days to Christmas?
Yeah.
That's what I should have called this podcast.
Hey, Bill, you can use that next year.
Yeah. Remember, in the description, where you're watching us or where you found this podcast, there's a link there for 25 plus free things. There's videos and scripts and checklists and documents and all kinds of stuff there. If for some reason we covered something today, you want to make a comment on it, or you want to have a question answered, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, top right-hand corner. It's a contact us or a support ticket. You can contact those. They go right to me. I will answer them. I do that several times a day. Lastly, make sure you like us or subscribe to us. Give us some feedback. If you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, top right-hand corner, where the links are, there's a testimonial page there. There are a lot of testimonials on there, Peter. The page takes a while to load. I don't know how to change that, and I'm not willing to change it. But go there and just give us some feedback so we know where you're at. Okay, so and the last thing I'd like to say, which I don't say enough, if there's a topic that you would like to cover or something you want to hear about, or something that doesn't make sense to you, send me a support ticket. And if I could make it a podcast, or at least bring it up on the podcast, we will definitely do that.
Sure.
Because I'm always looking for topics to talk about that are of interest. No different than I'm teaching about your seller. I want to know what you need and want, and then I want to deliver it. So if I'm going to be on the podcast and you're going to be on the podcast, we might as well talk about what people want to hear. So send in a support ticket. Give us some ideas. Okay. With that said, Peter, out with 2020 and in with 2021. Here we go, baby. Till next week, enjoy your holidays.